Oh, yeah, you got to be active. You got to be active physically. You've got to be active mentally, and you got to be around people and socialize. You got to keep your mind stretched. Our mind shrinks just like our body shrinks. And we got to pump up that mind muscle by working crossword puzzles, playing chess, doing anything, memorizing scripture.
Welcome to the Carolina Senior Talk Podcast, your trusted source for all things related to senior living in the Carolinas. In each episode, we'll guide you through the best locations, offer advice on buying a home, and share tips on relocating within this beautiful region. Whether you're exploring new senior communities, considering a move, or looking to invest in your current dream home, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover everything you need to know about senior living in the Carolinas. Well, hello there, listeners. Once again, welcome to a podcast where we talk about all things senior, carolinaseniortalk.com. And I have a special guest for you today. We're going to talk about lively living. Before I do that, let me tee things up for him at this point in time. Let's talk about the fact that as we age, okay, we're often hearing that we need to stay fit, but it isn't always about the fitness. It's about a little bit broader than that. It's about lively living. An active lifestyle promotes the following. It's better health, sharper mind, emotional wellness, stronger connections, and conversely, more independence, but overall, an enhanced quality of life. So with that in mind...
What do you need me for? I mean, you just...
With no further ado,
yeah.
The ball is on the tee, and he has already taken a swing at it. Dr. John Walker, welcome to our podcast.
Good to be here. Man, you and I got to be friends right off, with this Zoom deal. It's really fun to be here with you.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. You come well recommended. Let's see, there was a connection. I think it was somebody named Vicky, maybe.
Vicky Walker.
Yeah, your daughter.
59 years. And then Wendy Whitus and I do a podcast together every week, leverage your time, balance your life. And so we have a good time working together on that, and we're delighted to be here with you. So fire away. What kind of questions?
Well, first of all, let me stroke your ego just a little bit, if I may, okay? Because it's important that the listeners understand that you do have some credentials out there. You're a psychiatrist. You live in Denver, North Carolina. You have a medical degree from the University of Texas. I almost went to school there. You've been in practice for over 20 years.
Well, I've been in practice, I calculated that up. 55 years I've been in practice, and I've been practicing psychiatry for 48 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, and I still see patients in my home on Thursday. Awesome. So I enjoy that because I enjoy helping people. So, yeah, that's a long time, Dave.
Well, and of course, that time you've written 14 books. Do I have that right?
Well, I think I'm up to 16 now, I think.
Oh, my gosh.
I've lost count.
And numerous articles. Last number I see is over 100. Well, over 100.
It's got to be way over 100 because I've written columns, newsletters, blogs. I write 3 articles a week on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Those are really good articles, I think. Yeah.
But right now, you like to spend a lot of your time in front of people, speaking to them about some of these issues.
I love to speak. In fact, I hope somebody will let me speak to them because I need to speak once a week to build up my dopamine when I'm getting on this podcast that builds up my dopamine. So that's good. You got to have dopamine to live.
We have to rename this podcast to the Dopamine Podcast.
Dopamine fix. That's what we can call it.
So in a nutshell, Dr. Walker, how would you describe your mission in life?
Well, it's to bring encouragement, optimism, and hope to everybody I meet. I want to have people laugh a little. I want to have them think some. Mm-hmm. I want to have them appreciate more. And on occasion, maybe shed a tear or two. In other words, have some feeling in your life.
Awesome.
So let me tell you how I got that. Back in 1970 was when I was a senior in medical school. I saw this little quote about Sir William Osler. He's the father of American medicine. Osler was a modest and kind individual, beloved by everyone, who looked forward to his visits that offered encouragement, optimism, and hope to all that he met. Well, Dave, I cut that out and I pasted it on my desk and I looked at it day after day, week after week. Now, if I become Sir William Osler, of course not. But because I had that, it reminds me of my purpose in life. And we all need to have a purpose.
Well, I think people will agree after they listen to this podcast that you match what you say. All right, here's a question for you. Now, I put every guest through the gauntlet. I'm sorry. I told you there might be some pain here, but it's a test of your knowledge about all things boomer. So,
oh my gosh, don't torture me like that. I refuse to be on. Cut the thing right now. I'm leaving.
I believe the first category that you picked out was sports, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pick out a question. I get to ask the question. Oh, here's one. Okay. Which sprinter was stripped of a gold medal in the 1988 Summer Olympics? The 88 Summer Olympics, there was a sprinter stripped of gold medal. A, Carl Lewis. B, Ben Johnson. C, Willie Thorpe. And last but not least, D, Bruni Surin. Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson, Willie Thorpe, or Bruni Surin?
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson? I know that. That is correct. That's correct. Yep, the book says it is.
Pretty good. Who was the first guy that broke the 4-minute mile? Who was that? Roger Bannister, 4-minute mile.
Man, it's a good thing. Well, it's a good thing you answered the question real quick because it would have been a long, pregnant pause.
Well, if you're giving me trivia questions, I'm going to give them right back.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Here's cars, your second category. Okay, here we go. This is a fun one. What car did Burt Reynolds drive in 1977 Smokey and the Bandit? A, Chevy Camaro. B, Mercury Cougar. C, Ford Thunderbird. And D, a Pontiac Trans Am. Smokey and the Bandit, yeah. Camaro, Cougar, Thunderbird, or Trans Am?
A.
Chevy Camaro. Boy, I'm thinking about that one. I cannot for the life of me pull it up. Trans Am.
Oh, it's Trans Am.
Trans Am.
Okay, I was trying to think about that. I just watched that not long ago because it's so funny. But I should have gotten the car because I just watched the movie about a month ago.
Well, I was getting mixed up in my mind with the what was that detective show, and he had a Trans Am.
Yeah.
That he was always wrecking. So I don't know how he managed to fix the car all the time in his shows. But anyway, all right. So hey, you passed. You passed. All right, we can continue. That's fun. Good. That's always fun. You could spend a whole hour just doing trivia. Okay, so let's take a deep dive on what you call lively living. It's rumored that active lifestyle can lengthen life. What say you?
Oh yeah, you got to be active. You got to be active physically. You've got to be active mentally, and you got to be around people and socialize. You got to keep your mind stretched. Our mind shrinks just like our body shrinks, and we got to pump up that mind muscle by working crossword puzzles, playing chess, doing anything, memorizing scripture. I memorize scripture to get my mind going. So Vicki and I work crossword puzzles every morning, and we work on that little 7 little words. You know that you get an app on it, and it has 7 little words that you got to get. We build our mind up. Vicki's mind is built up a lot better than mine. I said, well, what's that? What's the answer to that one? So, and also I play the guitar a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when you play the guitar, you have to remember chord changes and note changes, and you got to get your fingers going right. So I'm not a good guitar player at all, not at all. But it keeps my mind is a different deal.
If I'm a good guitar player in my mind, does that help? Does that count?
Well, yeah, if visualization is real good. Yeah.
All right. Well, that leads to, because that was one of the principles that you talked about. You have 10 principles that you've kind of defined. Could you take us through what those are?
No, I can't. I mean, so
well, you talk about finding purpose in life.
Okay.
How does one approach that?
Well, finding purpose, you've got to look about what three things do you want written on your tombstone? How would you describe yourself? What gives you the most pleasure? What things in the past would you like to change? If you ask yourself those questions, you can develop some purpose. As we get older, Dave, we tend to not have a purpose. We tend to sit around, socialize, and all that. But if we don't have a purpose, we're really not living. And so, like I say, offer encouragement, optimism, and hope to all that I meet. That's my purpose. That purpose gives me heart. So everybody, I believe, needs to write down a one-sentence purpose. What is their purpose? And it takes a lot of thinking to do that. That's why I ask those questions. It's not easy like, what's your purpose, Dave? Tell me what your purpose is.
For me, it's about providing value to people. That's a broad equation.
Right.
But as you were talking, I'm thinking about many professionals out there face mandatory retirement, or either self-imposed or corporate imposed, whatever the case is. And all of a sudden, there's this void.
Right.
And so, I wanted to ask you the question: isn't this something you should prepare for before you retire?
Well, if you're living a purposeful life, you're prepared before you retire. Now, this is what I suggest when people retire is they take a few months to just have fun, be childlike, relax, appreciate the retirement. And then after a couple, 3 months, find something that really gives you passion. You all need passion. And I can't tell you, Dave, what your passion is. I can't tell other people what their passion is. But if you don't have passion, if you don't have enthusiasm, then you're halfway living,
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So much sense. One of your principles you talked about was physiology, and I was a little bit uncertain what you mean specifically by that. To me, that means going to the gym maybe, or staying flexible, staying in shape. Yes, no?
No, physiology creates feelings. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I'm down and not feeling good, this is what I do, Dave. I snap my fingers, just like I was at Vegas and won rolling the dice. I snap my fingers. I pump my fist like I'd sunk a 50-foot putt, and I'll look up at the ceiling, and I see all these blessings coming down, and that helps that's the physiology that creates feelings. So I do that a couple, 3 times, and I'm feeling a lot better. But also the way we walk, if we walk erect up front, then you'll feel better. If we sit up, physiology, look at your body. I will see people that are slumped down, and when they're slumped and they're kind of shuffling with their walk, well, that's a depression walk. And if you have that, you've got to force yourself to stand erect. And another thing people can practice, especially people who don't have confidence, is that Superman pose or Superwoman pose with the hands on the hip, chin up, chest out, legs up. Superman pose makes you feel better. So that's what I mean by physiology creates feelings.
My corporate background, I think about if you dress up, you will feel better. If you dress like a professional, you'll feel like a professional. It's kind of similar.
Dress for success. And one of the things we see now, Dave, nobody dresses good. They don't wear suits and ties and all. IBM probably is the only one that still wears ties. And you worked there for years and years.
I did.
You had to have your red tie and your white shirt and your coat. And, you could always tell an IBM man. You just couldn't tell him much.
There were times when I was competing against multiple vendors, and I walked into a room, open vendor, and I could pick out who the vendor was by the way they were dressed. There was that alien, it had a lot to do with the source of that computer system. HP, for example, came from science background, and Scholastic, and IBM was very corporate, and you could make a correlation there. It was interesting.
Another thing, Dave, look at people's shoes. Look at what they wear.
Mm.
The shoes will tell you a whole lot about people. Now, I wear cowboy boots. Why is that? I'm from Texas, but also that gives me a lot of power. I feel good. It reminds me of my background. And, so when I'm wearing boots, people will say, then that guy's an assertive, aggressive go-getter, right? If you wear tennis shoes, that guy's an athlete. If you wear hush puppies, that guy's retired and doesn't have any life at all.
So you talked about the physiology, but you also talk about visualization. In my mind, when I read that, I was thinking, okay, that's what a golfer typically does. You visualize where the shot's going to go, where you're going to place it.
Exactly. But Dave, when you were in IBM, and so when you're doing things right now, you visualize success. Like when we got on this podcast, before we were on the podcast, I saw myself doing good, doing well. And so I'm able to do better and relax. So whenever people, one of the biggest fears people have is speaking. Okay.
Number one, I understand it's the number one fear.
And, I'll tell you one thing, Dave, if you're able to speak, if you're able to put your thoughts into words that people understand, that gives you tremendous power. So you've got to get over that fear of speaking. And the way you do it is you visualize people enjoying your stuff. You visualize helping people. And when you're with people, you always got to focus on them, what their need is. And that way you don't get so trapped on, am I going to do good? Am I going to speak good? Focus on that other person.
Yeah, a lot of it is just getting up there and doing it. When you're a young kid, you're scared to even get up there and take a swing at a ball because you see this thing coming at you. Well, the best way to do it is just stand there and take a swing at it and overcome your fears and fail forward.
That's right. If you never swing, you'll never hit the ball.
Yeah.
You've got to swing it. And look, all successful people have failed over and over. It's okay to fail. You learn from your failure. You get back up. Winners get back up. And
Babe Ruth struck out more times than he hit.
Yeah, and Hank Aaron struck out. Yeah, you're right. Swing for the fences, get back up. If you don't fail, you're not doing anything,
You also talk about as if, fake it to make it. In my background, we had fake it until you make it, but it's the same thing. If you emulate success will be attracted to you. Is kind of the subtext to that, I think. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been faking it all my life. when I was I was at Duke, it's a high-powered academic. I'm a little old guy from Bluffkin, Texas, way back in the woods. So far back in the woods, I had to walk to town to hunt. But so here I am going to Duke University. Somehow I got in. I don't know how. Well, I do know how, but it's a long story. But anyway, I get to Duke, and then they like me for some reason. I get to be a professor there. But what I did is this. You put on that white coat. You put your nose up in the air, and you say fancy words like norepinephrine, locus ceruleus, basal. And you say all these fancy words. People say, that guy really knows something. I don't know anything. I'm faking it. I look like I do. And guess what? People think I know something.
Oh, gosh. All right. So another one you talked about was mindful nutrition. That implies a little bit more than just what you put into your body. It's about the mindset that surrounds that. Yes. Well,
what I meant by mindful nutrition is the mind diet or the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
We all need to be on that diet, which is leafy green vegetables every day, fish, or how do you say that? Fish and chicken, and nuts and berries, and red meat once a week. If you're on that diet, that has shown to be the most effective diet for reducing the potential for dementia.
Wow.
So it's called the mind diet.
So there is a connection about pushing off dementia or.
Yeah, what that does, it creates gets rid of free radicals in the brain. Free radicals are those sorts of neurochemicals that eat away at you. So you want to have an antioxidant, which gets rid of those free radicals. And that kind of diet I talked about will do that. So, it's no guarantee, but you're much better off if you're on that kind of diet than otherwise. And of course, I know people, Dave, that are not on the diet, and they drink like a fish and you're 90 years old, they're doing well. So you can't say that that's a guarantee, but it's best to eat that kind of food.
Is there an experience in your professional life that stands out as something that you'd like to share that kind of illustrates these principles in action?
Yeah, I would like to talk about a patient that I had, and this patient came to see me. She was a woman around 40, and she was real shy and awkward and depressed. Now, her husband had a good job. She had children that were, they were, in the latency age. And I said, well, you're going to have to get better. You need to get a job. And so she looked around and she found a job where she was a typist for dictation, doing dictation and typing up when the guys. Then her friend, she did that for a year or two. And her friend said, well, I've got a job for you. Secretary, why don't you apply for that? And it was at the Duke Development Office. So she was real scared about that. And I said, look, you got to do two things. First thing is you got to dress better than everybody in that office. And the second thing you got to do is write a memo at least once a week. Remember memos?
Oh, yes.
Jose? I said, write a memo every week to your boss making a suggestion about something. Well, later on, a lady retired and moved on. And so this lady got the job and she became director of special events at Duke. So she traveled around all over the country, meeting rich people, putting on functions and parties. And so that's an example of someone who started out depressed and rose in the corporate world because she tried something. Is that a good example or not?
That's an excellent example.
Yeah.
I love situations where people kind of start off and they're in the shell, they're shy, and then you see them grow and gain their self-confidence and then just take off like a rocket.
Just think, this young lady was awkward, could do nothing, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but progress, and she's talking to important people. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is neat. So what's next for you? I mean, you're still practicing psychiatry one day a week.
I see patients in my home every Thursday, and I enjoy doing that because I like helping people,
Good, yeah.
And it's fun. But what I want to do, I'm going to put a plug in. I want to give a speech once a week, and I give it free. Why will I do that? Because it builds my dopamine up. So if I can give a speech, I'm sitting at home, I'm miserable, I'm feeling bad, I don't have anybody to speak to. So if you need a speaker, get me. I can talk about just about anything, and I guarantee you, when people hear my speech, they'll feel better. I guarantee.
I feel better already.
You're feeling better, aren't you? I'm feeling better.
Absolutely. My dog's down here at my feet are feeling better.
I can guarantee, and I'm free. You won't get a speaker like that. I used to make tons of money speaking, but I'll do it free to build my dopamine up.
All right, folks, if you're listening to this, you heard it right here. We need some dopamine assistance for this gentleman. So let's all pitch in, get him signed up for a speech a week, and he will be healthy for a long time yet. What is the best way for somebody to reach out to you, sir?
Well, they can email me at jagwalker, JAGWALKER at mac.com.
Okay.
Or they can call me at 540-235-1553.
Awesome.
Problem with calling me is I get all these spam calls, and if I see a call that I don't recognize, I'm liable to just delete it. So it'd probably be best to email me.
Well, I was going to say, with the smartphones now, a lot of times they won't even come through if it doesn't recognize the number. I find that a very dangerous thing, Darn if you do and darn if you don't. Well, thank you for your time. This has been very, very entertaining, and I hope it's enjoyable for the listeners as well. And in case you didn't have a chance to write that down, my friends, Speed, don't worry not. We will post it on this broadcast. So with that, we're going to wrap things up. Dr. Walker, thank you very
Well, thanks
much.
for having me. My dopamine is way up.
And thank you to your daughter, Vicki, for putting us together.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you have a good one. Take care.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Carolina Senior Talk podcast. We hope you found today's episode both informative and helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave us a review and share it with those who might benefit from our advice. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy, sell, or relocate to the Carolinas, or you simply want to know how much equity you have in your home, be sure to contact me at www.carolinaseniortalk.com. Until next time, we wish you the best on your senior living journey in the Carolinas. Thank you for listening once again, and talk to you soon.